Hi friends, I'm Aidan Quigley and welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about tech, web design and branding. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the M1X leaks that have been coming for the past few weeks and months, specifically looking at what's going to be happening with the 14-inch MacBook Pro, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and the 24 and 30-inch iMac. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to hit that bell to turn on post notifications. Let's go! So if you're just catching up on what Apple's Silicon is, in June 2020, Apple announced that they would be launching their own Apple Silicon over the course of the next 2 years. So in theory, having Apple design the whole package, that is the chips, the software, the hardware, gives it a performance boost. But we actually saw that come to life in the Mac Mini, the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro 13-inch. With new M1 architecture. So the M1 chip has 4 high performance cores and 4 energy efficient cores, allowing the laptops to have an incredible battery life of over 20 hours, something that's kind of unheard of in the PC computing world. The M1 Mac has also beat out a 5K iMac from 2020 in certain benchmarks, including Safari performance, Xcode, and stabilization of video, which is pretty impressive from a machine that costs under $900 compared to the 5K iMac, which was I think about $3,500 to $3,800 for the spec in the comparison. So it's rumored that Apple's MacBook Pro 14-inch and 16-inch that are due to be launched next year or in 2022 are going to use the M1X system on a chip. The M1X processor is expected to have 12 cores, with 8 high-performing cores and 4 energy-efficient cores. Last week, Gurman announced that Apple is likely to be launching a MacBook Pro this year that will ditch the Touch Bar, which was highly divisive. I personally didn't really like it. I found it a bit clunky. If ever I was trying to use the keyboard to change the volume or the brightness, it just required too much. You had to look down and try and get the right, exactly the right spot. Whereas with the function keys, you could just kind of use your muscle memory to know exactly where to hit. So I'm happy that the Touch Bar is going, but I know that certain people will not be. There's also rumors that the new MacBook Pros are going to be bringing back MagSafe, which was one of the best inventions for Apple computers that I can remember. MagSafe is a charger that connected magnetically to the MacBook. And what it did was it stopped the computer from being tugged off a table if someone were to trip over the wire. I actually found it very useful. If ever I'm charging my laptop now, I'm very, very cautious about where I put it so that the cables don't get tripped up, and I'm actually really looking forward to having that feature back in the new MacBooks. So rumor is that the iMac is going to be refreshed with a 24-inch design and a 30-inch design to replace the 21.5-inch and the 27-inch. Supply chain sources have indicated that Apple are also working on their own Apple GPU that is destined to live inside the iMac. So apart from upgrading the internals in the new iMacs with an M1X processor, we're definitely expecting to see an upgraded design. What you notice with Apple's current iMac lineup is that the bezels are still quite large. What I'd be expecting is them to adopt the design language that they have for the Pro Display XDR and the iPad, and have something that's quite slim and has a flat back like the iPad Pro, rather than the curved back that's on the iMac now. Having a look at some of the concepts that are out there at the moment for the as of yet unreleased 24-inch and 30-inch iMacs, I'm kind of excited about what the design could be. One of the ones that I've seen is very minimal. It looks quite like the Pro Display XDR. It was Daniel Bautista who did the mock-up, and I quite like this one. There's another one from a designer called Giacomo Doda. I'm probably not saying that right, so sorry if I'm not. And it harks back to the early 2000s with kind of a dome base for the iMac, and then the screen is elevated on a stand. That one's actually kind of one of my favorites because it is a little bit fun, a little bit different to what we're seeing at the moment, and I don't know, I kind of like it. Let me know in the comments below what you think about those concepts, or maybe you found a different concept that actually you like a lot better. So another YouTuber has suggested that the performance is likely to be 40% higher than what we're seeing with the M1 chips. And that's based on the performance increase between the A12 and the A12X from the iPhone XS and the iPad Pro 2018. With those devices, it was a 40% performance increase. And I think that makes sense for the 24-inch iMac, but if we're talking about a 30-inch iMac, I'd be hoping that they add more cores to give more performance. So fingers crossed on that one. In terms of what I'd like to see in a new iMac, I definitely would expect to see Face ID come to the Mac, whereas MacBook Pros have the Touch ID in the Touch Bar. iMacs don't have that, and since they're getting rid of the Touch Bar, I'm not expecting to see a Touch ID fingerprint sensor in an iMac keyboard. So I definitely would like to see Face ID there. And if they include Face ID, they'll probably give a camera bump for the webcam, which would be very welcome because the cameras in the iMacs at the moment are lagging behind a little bit, I would say. If they include Face ID in a new iMac, then there would be opportunity to have bokeh video where you have the background blurred using the Face ID or the True Depth camera sensors. So I would like to see something like that in a new iMac. I would also like to see the ports on the side of the machine, because at the moment they are at the back, and it makes it very difficult to plug and unplug things, especially with my computer, which is right beside a wall. I have to stand up and peer over the computer to be able to interact with the ports, whereas if it was on the side, that would be a lot easier. I'm not sure that Apple would do that for design aesthetic reasons, but I think it could improve the user experience, so fingers crossed. Let's talk release dates. So, the 24-inch iMac, I'm expecting to be released in the first half of 2021. So we might see an event in March or April where they launch that. For the MacBook Pros, 14-inch and 16-inch, I'd expect that they would hold them off until November, October-November launch. I expect we'd see them by then. I'd also expect the 30-inch iMac to be launched either late 2021 or in 2022. If they launch those new Macs this year, would you be one of the early adopters jumping to their new Apple Silicon? Or would you hold off and maybe wait and see how the designs are? Let me know in the comments. In other news, Apple is rumored to be launching a Mac Pro Mini, which is supposed to take up half the space of the current Mac Pro and look kind of similar to the Power Mac G4 Cube from, I think, the early 2000s. Apple is also expected to launch a new monitor as a lower end option to their Pro Display XDR. If they were to launch something in the price range of $1,500 to $2,000, which is at the upper end of the $5K range, I think that would be something I would consider. So what do you think about these rumors? Are you looking forward to seeing the new designs? Are you going to be one of the early adopters? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Peace!